You look at some of these high performance Cubs, a sleek little airplane. It's not. That's not what this airplane is. This is it's a kind of a sluggish Cessna. Nothing wrong with that, right? I love it, but it's not a sporty airplane. It's slow. It rolls slow. It's sluggish. It just, like in all aspects, it just fits it.
Joel, is it Wyttenbach?
Wyttenbach.
Wyttenbach, okay.
Wyttenbach, yeah.
Joel, from one of the videos, you're in Wisconsin, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Wisconsin, kind of south central, northwest of Madison, Wisconsin is where I'm at.
Okay, northwest. So how are you closer to Minnesota than Illinois?
Yeah, almost probably about the same each way, any way you go. Yeah, kind of. Okay. Yeah, we're about, I don't know, 60 miles out of Minnesota there.
Okay, cool. What's the name of the town?
Sauk City.
Sauk City.
Yeah, Sauk City, S-A-U-K. Yeah, kind of just about 25 miles northwest of Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay, I may have to take a little trip up there. I'm northwest of Chicago. I have a little airplane. I keep it around Harvard. I don't know if you're Rockford. If you go about
okay,
10 minutes east. I've got a plane in that little place called Harvard. 0 Charlie 0 is the identifier.
Okay.
Nice little grass strip. But
do they do a bunch of towing out of there? Some glider towing?
They do. No, Sylvania. That's the one by 90.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the way to that. It's about halfway to that airport. And I just noticed they've got gliders there. And I told my wife, I'm like, maybe I should try one of these. She's looking at me. You idiot.
Yeah.
What else do you want, right? Yeah.
Right.
I told her, I go, I'm not going to jump out of an airplane, but I like to go on a glider. So I did it once, but that's it.
Okay.
Awesome. Just a quick disclaimer. You do want to do this this little session in English. You don't want to do it in Polish, right?
I don't speak Polish.
It was the funniest thing. I'm like, I subscribe, but I have no idea what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't care where you push it. If you I don't care where you put it. I guess it's your material. I'm happy to be on here with you and
Awesome.
talk about airplanes. So I guess however or wherever you want to push it, that's fine with me. If you want,
I've
transcribe it, whatever.
You'd be surprised where your videos reach. So
okay.
Yeah, I just texted a guy too in Poland. One of my first guests on a podcast, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm gonna have Joe on," and he's like, "Oh, that guy, yeah." I go, "Pretty cool."
Yeah, it makes it into a small world, doesn't it? The internet, it's pretty crazy. So it's pretty neat seeing that. We do a lot of farming. I watch a lot of European farming videos and that because I like seeing how stuff's done in other areas of the world.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, aviation world in general is tiny. I'm an airline pilot, so it's like the people that I wouldn't see for 10 years, I meet them in the most strangest places. I'm like, I haven't seen this guy in 15 years, but I see him in Hong Kong. Like, what are you doing there? Yeah.
Wow.
So it is very small, and you never know when you're kind of gonna stumble on each other. But to start off, tell me, how did you get into aviation? How did that start?
I guess I'm one of those people that aviation found me. As a small child, just that natural pull to aviation intrigued me. We grew up here on the farm, and we always had pigeons. And I remember watching pigeons always just fly around. And pigeons aren't a very graceful bird to watch fly, and I always kind of wonder how those stupid things can fly. But from that, just always watching airplanes flying over and wondering how that big thing can stay in the air. It just intrigued me from a small age. And mom and dad never had a lot of money. And one summer, mom said, "Hey, we're going to go up to the airport." And we went up to the airport, and she bought me a airplane ride at a local fly-in here at the airport that we have. Just a small little airport, but they had a fly-in going on. and she went up there and bought me an airplane ride at, I don't know exactly, 8, 9 years old. And just remember that very well. I don't really remember the exact airplane ride, looking down, but that was my first event that really made me fall in love. And then, jump ahead a bunch of years, to I was in my early 30s. Was planning on building a house, and I was racing at the time, and just realized if I don't do this now, I'm probably never going to do it. So we went driving by Baraboo Dells Flight Center there in between Baraboo, Wisconsin, and Wisconsin Dells. They had a sign out there, "Learn to fly here." So I stopped in there and asked a question. Next thing you knew, I was in the air and learned how to fly. So that's kind of where I originally got my start. And just the love of aviation was on my own. I didn't have any family members that were involved in the aviation or anything like that. So that's kind of where I got started.
And what year was that?
Let's see. I started in 2005, in the
Okay.
spring of 2005, and it was kind of. I think it was in that late February, early March. I kind of learned how to fly, and I think I soloed, and then we got busy farming and racing throughout the summer, and so I didn't really do any flying all summer, and then picked it up again late November, early December, somewhere in there, and kind of hammered it out. And I think in that February timeframe of 2006, I was able to take my check ride and passed my certificate at that point. So spring of 2006 is when I was able to fly by myself.
Cool. How old were you at the time?
What was I? Pretty much 30 years old, I guess, at that point.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I I think I was 26 when I got my initial private, so that was sort of around the same time, huh?
Yeah, it's a nice time to get it, I guess. You
Yeah.
kind of getting figured out where you're at in life a little bit more than 16 years old or whatever, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm always jealous that those people get that early start, but that's sort of like it's really tough to say like that's what I wanted to do when I was 16 because you've got, a million ideas until you get to 21, 22, and then kind of life takes over, right?
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And then you said you grew up on a farm?
Yeah, we have a pig farm. So we raise a
Ah,
bunch of pigs. So that's our primary business, is raising pigs, and then we farm a bunch of corn ground. We raise corn, and we use all that for feeding the pigs. So I've
okay.
got a sister and my dad. My dad's kind of retired right now, but my sister is very active, and we've got a number of employees there that keep us all busy and enough work for everybody to go around.
That's some tough sledding, huh? What time does the day start on a farm?
Um, for us, it's not too bad. We start around 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're this time of year, middle of winter, we can be wrapped up by 5 o'clock in the afternoon for the most part. Once we start getting warmer weather and field work, then that altogether changes. It's anywhere from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. type hours, so it gets to be pretty a lot of hours in the warmer weather when we have a lot of other work to do.
How many pig would you I mean, I'm sure you know the exact number. How many do you have?
Like on like any given time, where we've got about 20,000 on the floor right now. So
Wow.
we raise and grow everything ourselves. So we start them out from babies, breeding sows, making babies, and then grow them all the way up till they're ready to go to harvest, I guess is the easiest way to say. But
Man.
we market around 40,000 pigs a year, is about how many we market on an annual basis.
Wow. That's a lot of I thought of big numbers, but I didn't think of that much.
Here in the U.S., we're a pretty small farm when it comes to that. Here in the U.S., there's some very large farms that are out there, so we're still a family-owned, operated farm. A lot of them are involved with larger integrators and our contract growers. We're strictly a farm, independent farm. family farm operation. So there's not too many of us left in the world, really.
Yeah, especially when all those corporations buying all that out, right? Cool. And then you said you did racing. What type of racing?
Little Legend Cars was my primary one. It's like a 5/8 scale of a 50s car with a little fiberglass body with motorcycle engines in them. And then later on, I got racing into some midgets, racing dirt. This was all dirt racing for the most part. But the midgets, it's a 900-pound car with a 3 to 380 horse engine on it, and pretty fast little guys, and they're pretty popular series is Angel Park here in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Raced there quite a bit, but that was in the midget cars.
Okay.
So
You still do it at all, or?
no, I don't. I think my last race was maybe 2017, something like that. And we're just doing more airplane stuff, trying to free money up for the airplanes, and then family. Just it's hard to the racing can take a lot of time. It's not just the weekend warrior stuff. It's all the work during the week, a lot of late nights, keeping the car ready to run. You're in the summer months, so you're busy on the farm. So there's just not time with trying to balance the family and everything else with the racing. So the racing had to go back to the wayside, and my first love is aviation on the recreation side. So just really put the assets towards flying airplanes. I guess that's my true love.
Okay. And then when you got your private, did you have any other plans moving forward to get any other ratings? Any kind of things that would you thought in the future would pan out?
I no, I don't really have any desire to go anywhere else. I don't enjoy instrument. I like to stay proficient from a private pilot standpoint on instruments, but I don't have any desire to go after an IFR rating or a seaplane rating, commercial rating, anything like that. I'm strictly for my own entertainment and just staying recreational from that standpoint. I don't do a lot of traveling. Um, Probably 99% of my flying is just done very locally here, and I'm one of those guys that I'm just um, getting in the air is my final destination. And if weather is bad, I just don't go and I just stay parked. So I'm not I'm not chasing ratings or trying to go that route or become a commercial pilot, anything like that. So
Okay. So it's mostly pleasure and then providing people with all those videos because they're quite a, tell you what, I was sitting in a hotel room, I forget where, but I'm sitting there one of these layovers and I'm flipping through YouTube and then I come across one of your videos and I'm like, man, that fat sow. I mean, what that's my going to be a question where that came from, but I was like, man, that's some interesting fields you're going into. And you say get up in the air. You do quite get up quite quickly up in the air with that plane of yours.
yeah, and that I guess that's kind of where I'm coming at. Everybody's got the different aspirations, shall we say, and what they want to do. Um, First and foremost, I'm a farmer, and my job has me tied down right here. I don't get a lot of free time. I don't get vacations. I don't get that scheduled time off. So when I can get an hour or even a half hour, sometimes I go take a rip in the airplane and clear your head because it's amazing what a 20-minute flight does on the end of a hard day or whatever. But but it's so different, I would say, from your work or commercial ops. And I get quite a bit of criticism because of it, because it is so different. Because there is I don't know the commercial side. I've never been in a commercial flight ops, and I would probably say, looking at it from the outside in, it does look pretty. What the heck's this guy doing? I guess, and I don't know. It's been um, a slow walk up process to where I'm at today. And I've watched a lot of videos of flying, and there's so many different aspects out there, but I don't really enjoy watching a video of somebody climbing in an airplane and taking a 5 hour flight and recording that and talking to ATC. I guess. And so like I was doing this kind of go back into first stages when I was flying the ultralight. I'm like, well, this is kind of neat. This is different. I'm just gonna start. I was videoing it, and I was at first I started putting it on my phone. Well, then all of a sudden my storage starts getting full. But I thought, well, I'll have to just start a YouTube channel, and it's just kind of like a library to stuff videos into. But and ultimately that's where that started, was just trying to find a place to put videos. And then and you start flying and people start asking questions, well, what about this, or why are you doing it that way? And then it just kind of spurs more, why am I doing it type questions, right? And I guess that's where it starts, and it's kind of a unique situation that I'm in here with the different strips and that. But it's been a lot of fun posting all the videos.
Yeah, I could see that the criticism. Everybody's always hiding behind a computer criticizing stuff without even knowing how much maybe prep goes into it. It's not like you just went in there without any prep or anything, right? I'm sure
Yeah,
you've
if I went in there without any prep, I'd be dead by now.
right,
and
exactly.
and and I take the criticism very seriously. And one thing I learned early on is you don't know. Okay, back up just a little bit. I try to reply to everybody's comments or questions, whatever, because I want that interaction. Somebody spent the time to write me a note or commented on it. The least I can do is reply back to them. But I've always taken every little bit of criticism to heart, and I'll question myself. Okay, do they have a valid point? I a lot of times, this is just me. A lot of times I'll go to their channel, their webpage, and see how many cats they have posted. And nothing against cats, right?
Yeah.
I have a cat. I have one cat. No, I don't have a cat. My wife has a cat. But anyway, like if you're just a keyboard pilot and love your cats, and you're going to post all the cute things your cat did, I'm not going to take you very seriously. But you got to remember, some of the most foolish questions could be coming from an honest standpoint. You could be a 12-year-old kid, right? A 12-year-old kid in the basement working on Flight Simulator. And why are you doing it that way? And those questions can come across, if you want to call it foolish, or you don't know the background of that question. Are they attacking me, or is it just an honest question? And I just view every question as a good, honest question. I try not to read into sarcasm, and just answer the question if they ask me a straight up question, whatever. But if they start off and they just start swearing at me, I'll either delete the message, because I do have a lot of young kids that do watch that channel, and I won't allow the foul language on the channel. And if it's so, but that's kind of a little bit on the background on replying to people and taking criticism on social media.
Yeah. You know what? I just had a guest, and he was sort of like, so we switched roles and he interviewed me, and he was asking me, he goes, "Tell me what the difference is between flying private and flying commercial." And my reply was, all of it starts at at the same point. We all learn doing things that we're going to do if it's in private or commercial, which is always right. Planning, performance, those kind of things, right? And then we move on into more of a discipline, uh, like for instance, my work. We almost become robots because we're always doing our procedures, where that little or freedom kind of goes out the window, right? Because we're always structured, and we sort of do this whole CRM thing where we're working within a team, but everybody knows what I'm doing, or at least I communicate it. but it always starts from the beginning. We all learn the same way, right? And we keep that all the way through whichever way we go, if it's commercial flying or the type of flying you're doing, right? So to have people comment saying, "Why'd you do that? That's crazy." I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure he's done his little due diligence to make sure that everything is safe within the limits. It's not that he's just going in there, you know. I notice you wear a helmet, but 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 I have a small airplane too, and I'm kind of going that route that I might actually fly with a helmet on because I flew in some turbulence and I have this little Taylor craft and my head is just pounding it against the ceiling. So I'm like, I see where he's coming from. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I could definitely see that angle of, the comments and yeah. Well, anyway,
It,
criticism, right?
yeah, criticism. You got to have pretty tough skin though once you start posting on the
Yeah.
internet. And sometimes, some will really eat at you. Some of the criticism, other criticism just kind of rolls. And um, it's good. It's good. Over the years I've seen certain haters that just hate like everything you bring out. Doesn't matter what you do or what. You're never gonna please those people. But all I ask is people watch it with an open mind. And you know the amount of practice. The thing is, people don't see the amount of practice that you've done. Right now I'm a little over 1,100-hour pilot, and I have 5,500 landings in that much time. So there's a lot of time just spent landings, that airplane in slow flight, a lot of slow flight practice. So it's not just going out there and throwing that airplane into tight spots. There's been a lot of practice and a lot of walk ups to certain runways to get it in and out of.
Um, when did you come up? Well, I know you said you posted those videos to YouTube basically just to clear your data off your phone. But
Yeah,
when did you start seeing a lot of interaction, a lot of people getting into that type of those type of videos and that material?
man, like when did it, for my own or just in general?
Just in general,
I
when did you start seeing like a lot of interest in your videos? When did that pop up?
Oh boy, it was just it was a real steady, I don't know, a steady incline, if you want to say. I don't know. 3 years ago it really boomed. There was kind of when I started flying into some of these tight spots. Some of those videos got very popular. That like there's one there has 2.3 million views on it, and you
Wow.
start getting that many views, and now it just starts bringing in subscribers and things like that. Um, you don't you can't ever put a video up and say, "Oh, this one's going to go. Oh, I'm really excited about this. This is going to be a really popular video," because it might just totally flop. And then another one that you don't think's anything great might kind of go a little bit viral. But it was just kind of a steady work, I guess. And I've never tried to be an influencer. I don't think I'm still not wanting to be an influencer. I'm just posting what I do on social media and answer questions as they come, and keep doing what I'm doing, and posting these videos, because it is kind of a niche area where we're at. It's a recreational flying, right? There is so much opportunity here. We live in an area where the airspace allows it, and things like that. Where other times other areas of the world or country, you're not able to do this. So it's just that freedom of flying, and for myself putting videos up. I don't know. Some of the very first videos I put up were had to deal with tractors and some Fendt tractors and how to operate them. That's kind of where it started as well. And some of those videos were quite popular kind of before YouTube kind of changed the way they did business. Those views got out a lot easier than it is now. And now it's pretty hard to get the views, or the just millions and millions of videos going up every day. It's pretty hard to get any traction out there.
It's funny you say that which videos work and not. Again, one of my guests, he flies for he is not a fireman, but they do, a lot of emergency services to take fires out. And he flies one of these, single engine, it's a Polish model, but I can send you a picture. But anyway, he would tell me, he's like, the videos that he would think that would these would suck, right? They're not going to
Yeah.
be interesting. Get the most views that he finds thinking like this is not going to work. And the ones that he thinks these are really interesting and people are like, not really. Because he's maybe looking from that like perspective, from a pilot is like, man, this would be something. And yet people are not drawn to it. But the ones that he thinks that are absolute crap are the ones that that get the most
Right.
response.
Right. And the more comments you can get, and when there's negative comments, sometimes that keeps spurring it, and that can really push viewerships, because however that algorithm runs, it's that interaction, it's collecting that interaction, and starts sending it out. But it's pretty hard to judge what does well and what doesn't. So I just try to post a variety of things that I do, and wherever it goes, it goes. I don't care.
Right. Another thing you say about freedom, yes, I can confirm the U.S. has to be the most, uh, or the place where the most freedom to aviation is anywhere in the world. Most of my people that I talk to are in Poland or Europe, and just the concept of going to fly VFR and filing a flight plan and communicating with just doesn't make any sense to me. And when I tell them that I've got a plane that has no electrical system, I have no transponder, no ADSB, handheld radio, which that's for my benefit, but I don't need it. They stare at me like I'm crazy, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
nobody cares, as long as I'm not entering any airspace, I'm underneath. I can fly through under Class B. I'm not. I see other airplanes. I'm not getting in anybody's way, and everything works.
Yeah,
So
it's amazing because we can just go get in an airplane, not talk to anybody,
yeah,
and go fly for hours without having to talk to any type of airspace control. So we're pretty blessed here in the United States on what we have. I think I heard, I don't know if it's through AOPA or one of the larger outfits, that we have more places to land, more airports here in the United States than the rest of the world combined. And
I
that's
would.
pretty crazy when you understand that. When you start flying around the country, it's just amazing how close you can get with a small little local airport to a business you're trying to reach.
Yeah, and then how many airports are there? There's just private strips too that sort of you wouldn't even see on the map, and there are strips. I mean, I've noticed now because I got back into general aviation probably last 2 3 years and a little more now, but yeah, you're buzzing around, and I'm noticing fields that I've never even seen before, and they're next to farms and all these little places out west of my house. There's nothing, right? It's just
Right.
open areas, and there's a ton of it. I mean, I completely agree with the number of strips in this country versus anywhere else.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, your plane, that's a Cessna 172?
Yes, it's a P172D is the full model on it. So it's a 1963 P172D. In 1963, they had two models of 172. So they had the P172D and then the standard 170D or 172D. And so this was basically a last ditch effort from the Cessna 175s. So the 175 model was done in 1962. In 1963, they came out with the Cessna Powermatic. So that's where the P comes from on the 172D. So it had that GO 300, a gear drive, uh, 300 cubic inch. They turned the RPMs up on that to 3,200 RPMs, and then that produced 175 horse, and then they ran a gearbox to lower that propeller RPMs back down to 2,400. So those last models of the 175s, and then this P172D had a 84-inch Macaulay 84-inch propeller on it. That was a constant speed. So that really helped the problems that the 175 developed with the engine issues. The engine issues was a tough deal for those models. But in '63 they only made 68 of those for the U.S. and then there was four of them that went over to France. So as far as I'm aware, there was only 72 of those airframes ever built. But in '63
Hmm.
they had two of those models. They had the three what was it, a 3A12 is the type certificate of a standard 172, and my certificate would be a 3A17, which is the same as the 175s. Or if you're familiar with the Cessna Hawk XP, there's a XP with IO 360 in it. Um, that is the same type certificate that my 172 is.
Oh,
So I don't know if you don't
okay.
want to know all that, but that's kind of the
Yeah,
skinny
that's fine.
that's the skinny
I'm
of
getting
it.
back into I'm getting back into this GA stuff. Some people start telling me all these numbers, and I'm like, and they're
Well,
like, what
yeah,
kind of engine
sure,
is it? I'm like,
okay.
I don't know.
So
The one
how
that's got
like
an
how
oil and runs off gas.
so you got your certificate when you're 26, you said,
Yeah.
and then you work towards your commercial, and then you've got flying the big heavies. Then for how long you been in that
So I've
spec?
in 99 I started. So I was 20, 25, 26. I think I got all my ratings in 2003, commercial rating. And then, now at that time, it wasn't a requirement to have 1,500 to go work for the airlines. I think the minimum they required was 600 or 650, some multi-time. And my next goal was to go to be an instructor, which was like the normal route that people took to build time. But at the same time, there was a guy at the airport that had a King Air that was doing a lot of either medical flights, those lifeguard, or charters. And I just kind of stumbled, walked in, and said, "Hey, you need anybody?" And standard answer was, "No, no, no, I've got somebody, but send me
Sure.
your resume." So like kind of leave my room, but here's an email, whatever. But first thing I did, I went home. I sent him my whatever resume there was. Nothing, just one line. Here's my ratings. And within, I think, 12 hours, I got a phone call, 5 in the morning, said, "How quickly can you get to the airport?" And that was it. And that's how I started
Really?
getting, yeah. So I kind of ditched the CFI route. I started flying with this guy, sitting in the right seat and then slowly moving up. But it wasn't full time, it was just part time. I was doing some finance stuff just to kind of, life, home, right? So,
Sure.
so I got my hours, and then in 2000, was it 2006, 2007, the airlines, the regionals were hiring. So I applied and got a job with a airline, Delta Connection, which is ASA. And I flew there for 5 years, and I did a little stint after that in the Middle East. And that's where I started getting on the heavies, Airbus 330, 350. And then the next 9 years I was there. And then after that, I always wanted to come back. That was sort of a place where I wanted to get experience, but it wasn't my, end goal. Always wanted to come back to US. And then I applied to an airline that has this big brown tail, and we get to wear brown pants. I'm sure you're familiar.
I think
So,
so.
yeah. and I got hired there in 2001, and I'm happy and get to fly the big 747. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Yeah, then you
it's
come
yeah.
back
I mean,
come back to GA, but kind of where it all started then, huh?
I keep telling this story, and it's probably getting old, but I when I came home, I used to play hockey, and I did play for 4 years, sort of for a living, over in Europe, and anytime all of my friendships are basically based on that, right?
Hmm.
So one of these nights we get together on Fridays, we skate, and a guy I meet there, and he's like, "Hey, man, I always wanted to fly. I love flying airplanes and all that. Because he knew I was a pilot, and I'm like, All right. Then I find out he's a construction guy and he's, he's Mr. Do It All. So I'm like, well, I need kind of a house revamps here. So why don't we do this, man? Help me out. Help me out with this construction work. And then I'll get checked out in a Cessna and then we'll go buzz around and do whatever you want. And that's how it all
Okay.
started. That's how I got back into GA because I wasn't really interested. I'd look at airplanes. I was like, yeah, maybe one of these days, but this kind of motivated me and I went out, I got checked out. We flew a 172 around and then about 6 months ago, I kind of got a bug, started looking for an airplane and I settled on a Taylor craft, which I got you beat. It's a 1940
There you go.
model. So yeah, yeah. So I've got that 65 horse. When I first saw it, I'm like, wow, 65 horse and two seats. But yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun, man. I'm going into little fields and just have a friend that's got a cub as well. We sort of get up there and he's showing me around. He goes, "Let's go into this place. Let's go into that." So that I mean, that's like you said, from the commercial side to the private side. This is so much more fun because I'm on my own. I can get away. Nobody's there. Nobody's watching me. Nobody's wanting me to do something a certain way. I can just do it, of course, within safety,
No,
as you
right,
said.
right.
But yeah, but of course, that, back in my mind, that is there, but I get to do whatever I want, wherever I want. And that's been probably the most exciting.
Yeah, I don't fly straight and level too often because there's something else I want to see, right? You're
Yeah.
not, you can draw your line from destination to one to destination two and fly a straight line, but boy, mine's pretty crooked because it's like, well, what was that? Or I make a circle and take a second look, but that's that's what it's all about for me is looking around and seeing different properties. I love farming, so looking at farm ground and seeing what crops are looking like or what people's ranches or farmsteads look like. That's what's entertaining. And you're flying. When we're doing this, we're not at 6, 7, 8,000 feet. We're a couple thousand feet off the ground. You can still see hills, right? Nothing. It doesn't turn into a flat Earth at that time. And that's what's kind of fun. We live like where we live right here. We have the Wisconsin River that flows down through us, and so it's very. They have what they call the driftless region from the Wisconsin River out to the Mississippi. It's very hilly, and not tall hills. 200-300 feet hills, some 500, but it gives you something to look at. You can fly up these small valleys or fly over small valleys, cattle country, whatever. But it's really for living in the Midwest. It's a beautiful area here. We have those hills all the way out to the Mississippi. We can kind of fly to the east. It gets pretty flat ground that way. So that's why I enjoy flying is just looking out the windows and enjoying the ride. I'm not once I get in the air, I'm to my destination. I'm not I don't I'm not a going places person.
And then, so tell me, first question, how'd you come up with the name?
Well, I've always kind of made nicknames for pieces of equipment, and I guess flying around, you just kind of have an idea you want to name an airplane something. So I'm always thinking like, well, I'm a pig farmer. I live on a pig farm. It's got to do something with a pig, So then it's like, well, I call it Miss Piggy, from the old Sesame Street. Everybody knows Miss Piggy. Well, then I'm posting stuff online. I'm like, well, now I'm gonna get into copyright infringements. Start calling it Miss Piggy, and like growing up, you start moving pigs. Sometimes you have these sows. A sow is a female pig that's had babies. If nobody doesn't know what a sow is, so we move a sow around, and like some of these mamas are huge, and they move slow. They're super strong. They'll lay out flat quicker than you can say whatever. You playing hockey, right? How you get checked, you get
Yep.
laid out pretty hard and fast. A sow can lay out fast, but they're just fat. And you always had these fat sows. Well, some of these tractors turn like fat sows, you know. Some of the tractors, they're strong, but they're not real super agile. And then so it would just kind of, it just kind of rolled into once in a while flying my airplane. I'm like, come on, trying to get the airplane off the ground in a short strip. It's like, come on, you fat sow, get off the ground. Or it's like, stop. Yeah, limited braking or whatever. I'm like, stop, you fat sow, stop. And it's just one of those things. And that's kind of where it kind of got its name. It's fat sow. And I kind of just went with it, and I started hashtagging it on a lot of my videos, and it just fits it. It's not. You look at some of these high performance Cubs, or a sleek little airplane. It's not. That's not what this airplane is. It's a kind of a sluggish Cessna. Nothing wrong with that, right? I love it, but it's not a sporty airplane. It's slow. It rolls slow. It's sluggish. It just, like, in all aspects, it just fits it. So that's where it kind of came from, I guess.
Okay. And then how did you stumble on all these fields? Is that something you had uh, planned out before, or was it just by you going up in the air and then taking a look and going, "Oh, this is an interesting place to go"?
Yeah. So here on the very first one. So I guess all together, I have there's seven different places to land. I don't really call them airstrips because I don't want people to get confused thinking that it's a airstrip and everybody's welcome to it. I'm very open to have people in there, but just the nature of some of the strips, I just can't have anybody coming in here and landing. So the very first one is called Shorty, and so I guess I got the story's got to back up just a little bit, but I started flying in '06, flew for about 2 years renting airplanes, and then just fell away from it. Um, Short, limited time to go fly. And then when I do have time to fly, the airplane's rented out because I can't plan ahead. Not a good plan ahead. It's like, oh, the weather. Hey, it looks like a good day to fly. Let's go fly. Oh, the plane's rented out. Well, all right. Anyway, so I kind of fell away from flying for about 9 years, and then I ended up buying an ultralight. And a friend of mine had one. I ended up buying that ultralight from him. I needed a place to put it, so I mowed a small area, and that was the very first trip. And then a couple more friends showed up, and it's like, well, this is kind of neat. So I found another place to put one on the property, and it was a stepping stone from there. Every little every little nook and cranny, I'm always looking to see where I can maybe put another little strip in that we can get an airplane in and out of. So nothing was ever planned ahead of time, and each strip comes up. It's like, well, that would work for one, and some of them have been there's been some failures on, thinking it's going to go, and then you try to put a strip in, and it just doesn't work out, where it's too many trees in the way, or too dangerous getting in and out. So everyone has kind of got its own characteristics, and come up on its own time.
Yeah, when you say about planning, that's one of the reasons I sort of got not talked to, but convinced myself into buying an airplane. Because saying, there's days where you look and it's beautiful, and then you call and okay, it's occupied, or you only have this. You got to be back at a certain time, and I don't want that headache, and I don't want that you know that being on the back of my mind that somebody else is waiting and I'm going to be late. This is mine now. I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, within the limits, and that's perfectly like you mentioned. Getting something of your own is the way to go. Um, the one field that comes that I keep looking that you go into is the one between the two trees. Is that the shorty?
No, that's called sloppy.
Slappy.
Yeah,
Okay.
sloppy. One of my friends, Ross, named it that, and it can get a little sloppy down in there once in a while. So you need to know what your weather conditions are before you get in there. But there, there again, that's one that's created a lot of criticism on, um, because you are landing between two trees. For the most part, it's on rollout. It's on rollout. You're not touching ground, and but that's been a really fun strip. There's a lot more room in there than it looks, but yeah, you got to be in control of your airplane when you're going in there and being on the center line. But I preach that to new students. I'm not a CFI. I'm not going down that road, but like learning to stay on the center line right away as a student is so critical because there'll be two track roads that we land on and you don't have any room for error there, right? I mean, you've got to be, 2 feet off and you're going to be in the ditch. So I view that as the same way. But yeah, Sloppy's got the two trees there, one on each side. And then like Gatorback has one tree and it's off to the side. And that's one of those strips that if you have a high performance airplane, you got to be careful because if you start climbing, you could catch a wing into that. You're kind of going underneath that a little bit. So that's one of those where you just kind of want to lift off, stay in ground effect before you try to climb out. But a few differences like that. But yeah, that Sloppy is gotten its fair share of criticism.
Yeah. Well, my criticism always, if I see any videos, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is center line, like you said, right? Because I go,
Yeah,
that's everything is depends on that. That should be your starting point. If I can keep the airplane where I want it, where it's meant to be, then all the other stuff just comes, comes naturally. But yeah, that would be one place that I wouldn't be drifting and having a 20 knot crosswind to go into
right.
that little spot.
Right, and that's the other thing. And like one comment would be, "Oh, if you hit a gust of wind, you would have been in the tree." Okay, well, I'm not going in there when it's like that, right? We're making that judgment before we go in there. Winds are calm. I don't
Yeah.
have a crosswind going in there. That's a one way in and out. So I'm not going in there with a huge tailwind or a headwind where I have to try to fly a tailwind out of there. So there's issues or there's not an issue there because you're gonna use your own judgment before you go into these places because there's enough other places we can go land. We don't have to land there that day. So it's
Yeah.
all prep before you go flying.
I'm still amazed by your control abilities and how well it seems that you know that airplane because you hear that stall horn going off, you're on your way down, and I'm like, well, somebody would think, oh, he's about to stall the airplane. I'm like, no, no, he knows the limits of that airplane, and I'm sure it's well calculated, and performance that again, as we speak, that you've probably done so many times to make sure that you can go in and out of these airfields.
Yeah, and to touch on that a second, that airplane from when that stall horn you know what it's like. This is a tool that we're using, right? And it's not going to be the exact number every time that stall horn goes off because there's a lot of variables. But standard winds, that stall horn goes off 6 miles an hour over what it's going to stall at. And when you come in and if you could watch the throttle response, when that stall horn's going off, there's already a power input put into that already. Like it's there. If you're hearing that thing chirping on and off, I'm at the top end of that airspeed of that stall horn. When I'm really slow flaring, yeah, it's just going to be squealing. But out short final, you're going to hear the thing chirp. But for the most part, you're not going to hear that thing full on all the time. So it is critical. And then there's so many other variables. If you're coming straight in, is one thing, but as soon as you start putting bank into that, now some of those speeds start changing as you know. The steeper we get, the higher that speed's got to has to come up. So a lot of variables, heat density, altitude, cold weather, all that's going to affect on how that airplane's going to fly and perform. And being ahead on a hot day, you're not going to let that thing get it as far deep into that stall horn as say you would on a really cold day. Makes a big difference. So you give that burst of power, how quickly, that engine's 195 horse engine on it, fuel injected with a a Hartzell Trailblazer propeller on it. It's an 80-inch propeller, and the throttle response on that airplane is crazy fast. It's so
Good.
responsive. When you just burp that power, you've got thrust there immediately, and that's a difference. If this was a standard 172 with your cruise prop, it's going to be quite dangerous. And that's where people got to understand this airplane is highly modified 172. It's not a standard 172, but practicing and knowing those airplanes and I tell people I know this airplane. I don't know how a Taylorcraft flies. I don't know how a Husky's going to fly or a Super Cub or a Carbon Cub or you name the other airplanes. I don't know how those techniques will work in those airplanes. I know how this airplane flies with these modifications. And if you want to argue with me, I'm all about it. But if you want to argue me about, this model versus that model, I can't argue with you because I have zero experience in them.
As I learned listening to Joe Rogan podcast, don't read the comments.
Yeah,
There's no argument. Then there is no argument.
yeah,
Oh,
right.
man. No, no, it seems to me it looks like you know that plane inside out because you know the limits, those fields they're very short. So the way you do like when I notice that you're taking off, you start rolling, then you throw in a little bit of flaps, you get in the ground effect, you stow the flaps, and then you kind of buzz around. But like you mentioned, there's a lot of those places that if you are flying something else, that might surprise you.
Yeah, and I get questions on the flap thing, and I'll just touch on it real quick because there's a lot of comments about that. Because so I start with 10 degrees flaps when I go to, and then when I'm rolling out, I'm at 10 degrees. Start out at 10 degrees. When I rotate, I just pull in 20, 25 degrees, somewhere in that. I don't. This is on the flap handle. If I had electric flaps, I wouldn't be doing it this way. I'd set it at 20 degrees and take off. 20 degrees is your max performance for takeoff. Anything over that, it's just induced drag. There is times where I have used 40 degrees flaps. And a situation like that has been in tall grass or even snow where those wheels are creating a lot of drag. And you bump it into 40 degrees and that airplane will just kind of levitate off that. But you got to start dumping those flaps. You got to start dumping those flaps and let that thing settle down and fly out. And that's where the hand flaps, a mechanical flap system is king because you can feel that. If you're doing this with electric flaps, I wouldn't recommend any of this style of flying with electric flaps in the manner that I'm doing it. Electric flaps into a turn, things like that. I wouldn't be doing that. But with the manual flaps, I keep that button pushed on so I can kind of manipulate those flaps any way I want. But the only reason I start out at 10 degrees is a couple of years back, I was on a two-track road, a water ditch on one side of me, and another a field on the other side. So like I had to stay on this little two-track road, and when I was rolling out and I reached down to grab the flap handle and I took my eyes off where I was headed for a split second to reach for that flap handle. And when I pulled up, I was headed towards the water ditch. And everything turned out fine, but I pulled flaps in and I rotated and I got off the ground. And I thought, wow, that got pretty close. That scared me. So now I set that at 10 degrees, and the only reason I'm doing that is it's just an easy reach and pulling in at 20 degrees. That's the only reason I'm starting out at 10 degrees is to get that flap handle just a little bit closer so you're not getting out of position to reach down and grab that flap handle.
Yeah. No, it's good to have a plan, right? And now you learn from something that happened, and then that kind of keeps you I would say aware and of knowing what's going to happen next. But yeah, I mean, that's amazing what I see you doing. And then tell me, like these fields that you go into, how many would you say? How many times have you gone to all these fields in all that time of flying?
Oh boy, my local ones you're saying here?
Yeah,
Um,
like the ones between the two trees and sloppy, right?
yeah, sloppy. Well, I don't really know how to answer that a lot. Um, how would I say that? I don't. That's a hard question. How many times I've been in there? There's times that I'll go and maybe hit one or two, dependent if say weather conditions. If weather conditions are calm, I'll probably hit all my strips twice. So there'll be 14 takeoffs and landings, and you can do that. You can do that in maybe 20 minutes by hitting those strips that many times on an annual basis. I don't know how many. We're doing. I don't know, or probably 600 landings down there annually. So, but that's spread out amongst all the strips around there. So it gets variable. Um, I don't know. Guess I've never really kept track count on how many times I've been in a certain strip, but like usually if conditions are right, I'm probably going to be in there 3 times a week if I'm busy flying. If I'm in the spring of the year where we're farming hard, or in the fall where my work comes first, um, you know, it'll go 2 months without my airplane on any of the strips. It just doesn't get flown. So I don't know if that answers that question, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. No, no. I'm just trying to figure out like if you go out for a day, are these pretty centrally located within kind of a few minutes away from each other?
Yeah, yep, exactly. I think it's 2.5 miles from Big Sister down to Duck Blind. So, and that's
Hmm.
one end to the other end. So then you've got all these strips in between there. So I'm gonna we've got pretty good snow cover right now, but as soon as my one of my next videos, I shouldn't say next videos, but I'm gonna put a video together and fly every strip and throw it all onto one video and just kind of do one big thing, kind of see how much time that takes to hit all 7 of them. But they're um, all the way from 30 feet apart or maybe 100 feet apart to a couple hundred yards apart for the most part. For the most part, some of them are
Hmm.
really close together. Like Gatorback and Sticks are kind of backed up to each other. Shorty and Big Sister are really close to each other. So there's four that are right there, and it's a quarter mile. It's a quarter mile from Shorty down to Glider, and then Sloppy's in the middle of there. So you're only flying 1,000 feet to that other strip. So it's barely enough room to get that airplane positioned to come in for a final on another runway.
So these names, I mean, you told me already how you kind of name things, but is that all you naming these fields, or is that somebody
No,
else's input?
rock. It depends. Some of them I've named. Shorty was got some Bush guys that were coming out of Middleton years ago when I first put that first strip in. They called it Shorty because it was the shortest one around that they were landing on. So they just started calling it Shorty. That stuck. Well, then Big Sister's right next to it. I named it because I don't know why it's right next to Shorty, so I just call it Big Sister. And then Ross named Sloppy down there, and then Glider. I had some paramotor guys that were in the area, and they were looking for a spot. So I kind of put that in there for those guys, Glider, and then if I go over to Duck Blind is right along the Wisconsin River, and it's right along another tree line. It's just like we're hiding from the river and hunting ducks or whatever and airplanes. So it's just kind of my own stupid mind putting things together like that, and that came up with Duck Blind. Um, Sticks, when I put that one in, I got so sick and tired of picking up sticks. There's a bunch of brush I cleared out for that one, and it seems like I just spent weeks picking up brush and sticks, and that's why I ended up just calling it Sticks with an X. And then Gatorback. Gatorback was my best one, I think. if I had a favorite, I'd probably call it Gatorback, because driving in there when I mow, driving in there the first time I went in there, this is in a cow pasture. It's not farmable ground. So going in there, there's this mucky, awful looking little pond puddle at the one end, probably 50 feet across. And it's just like the last place you're going to want to go through. I'm like, if we were in Florida, there'd be gators in there, right? So I mowed this strip in there, and the very first day I went up, I mowed it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get the airplane and land in here. And it was 900 feet long, but I'm coming over, probably 60-foot trees at the other end. So it's going to be pretty technical getting down in there. So I went up, got the airplane, went down there, and I landed, and about wrecked the airplane. I don't know if the very first time you're ever into a runway, it's pretty exhilarating. Something that you just kind of first time ever landing an airplane anywhere there. Well, what happened was I mowed it, and I thought it was pretty smooth, and it wasn't smooth at all. And my airplane never rattled so much. It was pretty rough. And then at the other end there, the front wheel almost dug in, and it got pretty ugly. And I shut the airplane down. I'm like, this isn't going to work. So I waited a little bit, thought about it, went down the other end, and taking out of there was fine. Not any problem there. But went right back to the airport, got my truck, driving my truck home, and I started laughing. I thought, we gotta name it Gatorback because there's gators at the end in that swamp, and then it's like rough landing on the back of a gator. It was so rough, and that's kind of how the name of that one came along. So, yeah, interesting things.
Has Yeah. Have any other pilots reached out to you to sort of get the location of these fields to go in and try it themselves?
There is some. I haven't, not really over social media or emails or anything like that. There has been pilots that ask permission to come in, um, but not a lot. I would say there's a pretty good group of people that use them and are free to use them, and I'm very open to have people come in and use them. I'm not protective like that, but I gotta know their skill level before they come in and make sure the airplanes are capable of coming in there and doing it. But just because they've got an airplane that's capable doesn't mean the skill level of the pilot's capable of it. But I'm very open to have
Yeah.
it. And like glider is 1,200 feet long. That's the big one. That's 150 feet wide and 1,200 feet long. So there, it's kind of like meet up there and either jump in my airplane, we'll go fly around a little bit, or take them to a couple airstrips around that and just see how they handle those airstrips and see how well they're controlling it directionally and getting it down where they need to. Because you got to be able to spot land some of these runways. When um, what's the duck blind's shortest, that's 480 feet, and shorty's little right around 500 feet long. So you got to be kind of spot landing some of these spots. So I'm a little more protective on who comes in, but I'm very much willing to have people in because I want to share them because I spent all this time keeping them somewhat mowed. They're not golf courses by any means, but maintaining them, and I spend all this time maintaining them. I want people to enjoy them and fly them, but I've got a lot of houses around my area, so there's traffic patterns, right patterns, left patterns. It's just like we just got to stay away from houses, so we can't get in this mindset of left-hand traffic patterns. So there's things like that people
Right.
got to understand when they're coming in and flying here. So it's a big thing. Same way with noise, like keep the noise level down. If you got a constant speed prop, dial that thing back as quickly as you can, or if you don't need all that power getting out, just dial it back a little bit so it's not so loud. But
Okay. Any future fields you got your eye on?
there's one, but I don't know. It's going to take quite a bit of work to get it in there, and I'm not sure how much I'm pretty content. I think I have about one more spot that I could maybe get a strip in, but I'm not I'm not too eager at starting that right now. So it's going to be out a little while before I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think I forgot to ask in the beginning. Do you have your own strip by your house?
I don't know. Um, no, if I had an ultralight, I when I had the ultralights, I kept it at the farm. I had another spot that I land, but it's pretty tight. I've gotten my Cessna in there once, but it's pretty sketchy going in there with a full size airplane. So I just keep it up here. We have got a local airport. It's only 7 minutes away from the house, so I've got a hangar up there, and that's pretty nice because that way I'm at an airport. I'm hangared at an airport. I can come back in the dark with lights, and I got a paved runway. So that's I'm not trying to take away from a local airport by no means. So it's nice being able to keep it
Yeah, that's nice. That's 7 minutes is nothing. Mine is
no,
45, so I
that's
still think
spoiled.
it's okay.
That's I know I hate saying it like that because I know what people have to do to get there to the airplane. So it's pretty yeah, it's pretty nice.
Yeah. I've got it's an all grass strip. So there's three runways on there, but in the winter, they sort of keep one of them clean. Um, but the hangar, the price was just nothing. It was $120. So I'm like, hey,
Wow,
sold. I can drive 45 minutes.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't beat that right
So it was
now,
nice.
huh?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Because the airports by my house are, but that's of course Chicago. So if you go 45 minutes west, they're all $500. And, that's sort of a starting point. And then if you go any further, 250, 300 is probably a normal price.
Yeah, I know people that are
Yeah.
at 1,000 on some of these places for a nice hangar anyway
You
around
should
the
hear the
Madison area.
stories. You should hear the stories about guys that I fly with that have airplanes in Anchorage. It's insane. You're sharing and you're paying $1,500.
Oh no, really?
So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's a rich man's sport up there.
Yeah, boy, I guess
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Cool. Tell me about. I've seen you in a combine. Is that right?
Yes.
In one of your videos.
Yep.
How is that? How is kind of controlling that? Because I've seen them now. I mean, they're all computerized. They've got their little GPS tracking stuff. Is that something you're in, or you go old school?
Well, we're kind of old school. Our combine is a what is it? A 2013. It has auto steer on it, but it has we only have corn, so I don't have soybeans or anything like that. It's just corn, and on the corn head where all the corns are in rows, and on the roll unit, there's two fingers up front, and they feel the roll as that moves like this, it'll steer the combine. So it's got auto steer. So I don't have to steer the combine. It just goes, once you get it turned around on the end and get it going down the row, it just feels that the row coming in there. And then it just, as that pushes on that lever, electronic switch is just kind of makes that thing drive the way you want it to. So you're on ours, you're still
Well,
controlling the speed and all that. But the brand new ones, it's a total different deal. They're very atomized. Atomized? That a word? Everything's done automatically.
it is
Setting
now.
the thing up. It is. We're gonna send it on that. But no,
Yeah.
it's pretty fun running those. I guess they're big machines. We harvest 12 rows at a time and dumping into a grain cart that's run along with us. Now they're going a lot automatic driving those tractors now where they come up beside the combine and you dump in where we don't have any of that technology. So we're utilize the auto steer technology in our planting tractors and all that, and that's been um, that the fatigue level at the end of the day is so much better because you just hold the steering wheel, but if you're in there for 15 hours at the end of that day, you still feel pretty good if you're not having to concentrate on driving that tractor to the other end of the field, staying on your lines and things like that. So it's a, it's like autopilot. You can still run into stuff, but it takes the
The autopilot,
workload.
yes. It takes the workload away, but doesn't mean that takes any attention away. So many people
Right.
might get disappointed by having that thing fly into something or drive into something where you
Yeah.
still have to control it, right?
Yeah, you always see people, they get messing with their phone, they take out a power line pole or a transmission line, or running into a creek a stream at the end of the field. There's some of that starts going on. People aren't paying attention. You can wreck a lot of stuff too and not paying attention because they get hung up on their social media on their phones anymore. But it can make for a long day shorter because if you get into a long field and you can spend some time thinking about other things and trying to keep it right on your line. So it's been a really nice option to putting on the newer equipment for sure.
Yeah. What does one of those things weigh?
Oh boy, it's probably all over the board. I I think our combine's right around 50,000 pounds is what our
Okay.
combine weighs. So I think the combine itself is right around 40,000, and then the corn head on the front's right around 10,000. So maybe just a little bit there north of that, 52, 53,000. But some of these new combines, they're quite a bit heavier than that now. The John Deere X9 and some of big uh, those big class combines, there's a lot of iron in those. So yeah, quite a bit different than what we're
Well,
doing.
that'll definitely take out a light pole and do
Yes,
some
right.
damage.
Very expensive too to fix. Not as much as airplanes. We're talking.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of funny, when we talk farming and we start talking to aviators and pilots, and they're like, you tell them the cost of something, like, oh well, that's not bad. Guys are spending $6,000 a tire, for their bush plane, and you're complaining because you just spent 7,000 for a tire on the back of your tractor. You're like, well, that doesn't sound bad. It's like, yeah, go away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at
uh,
least good news is you get to sort of reap the benefits of changing that tire for benefit of making money, right? Making a living
right,
on an
right.
airplane is is just for your own sake, right? It's just, oh, look
Yep.
at these tires, but that's it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Uh, awesome. Well, Joel, I'm not going to take more of your time. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Just if you can tell everyone who listens where they can find you, what's the best source? Instagram, YouTube, and anything else?
Sure. Yeah, well, appreciate having me on too. And I guess if anybody wants to look up more information on me, you can find me basically at all the media outlets. Not all, I shouldn't say all, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. You can search me for under Joel Wyttenbach. You can look my name up there if you don't know how to spell it. If not, you can do hashtag FatSal. I've been hashtagging a lot of that stuff. I'm the guy with the airplane, not something else you may find with under Fat Sal with a bunch of pigs or something. But yeah, you can find me there. Don't be afraid to send me a direct message there on Facebook or Instagram. That will work too. But always happy to answer any questions people have. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, "What the heck are you doing, Joel?" So yeah, Matt, that's about all I have.
Awesome. And I'll put a description on there and links to make sure people find you. But this has been great. Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. I enjoyed it. Nice to meet you, and hopefully keep pushing those videos out because it was
Okay.
definitely interesting. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, good.
Thank you, Joel.
All right. Thanks a
Take
lot.
care.
Appreciate the time. It was
See
fun.
you.
The plans we make and chances we take, I feel everything more with you. Quiet confidence and trusting every step. know that our faith will get us through. It's so obvious, forever calling us, and this time we won't wait and wonder anymore. When the morning breaks, we won't hesitate. It's the first day, it's the first page. Our story starts here. Our story starts here. Before our eyes, now we find it all becomes so clear. Our story starts here. Constant faith in the words we say, and it makes us sure we're never letting go. It's so obvious, forever calling us. It's the first day, yeah, it's the first page. Our story starts here. Our story starts here. Before our eyes, now we find it all becomes so clear. Our story starts here. Our story ends, our story ends, our story ends, our story, our story ends, our story ends, our story ends, our story. It's so obvious, forever calling us. It's the first day, yeah, it's the first page. Our story starts here. Our story starts here.